Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podcast Period, the internet's stupidest podcast. With me today is my co-host, David.
What's up, guys?
And nobody else this week. It's just us again. But we do have some news. This is going to be the start of a season 2 of sorts, in that we're going to have some sort of format for most of the episodes. We're still going to have the special episodes, like the movie reviews and whatnot, and the album review like we did with the Post Malone album. But, yeah, we've got kind of a format going on. We'll explain it as we go along. And hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to follow along with our musings and random whatever goes on in this podcast.
At least that's the plan.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
If I sound a little bit stuffy, it's probably because I am. I'm still getting over a little bit of a sickness, and so is my wife, who you can hear in the background.
Clearly.
Yeah. Thanks to her, I had to start over the intro 3 times. She's over there laughing like it's funny. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a new format, a new branding and everything. Well, kind of old at this point, but yeah, that was kind of the impetus of the whole thing. So yeah, there you go. We're gonna go ahead and get started. First little segment that we've got going on is the news. What we normally do. We've got a few news stories that we're going to cover from various random outlets, and we're just going to go back and forth like we normally do. So this won't be much of a change from the normal format, but it's going to be a little bit shorter than it normally is. I'll let David go first. You go ahead and bring us into this.
Okay, so a little bit of it's going to be like a trifecta of AMD news because it's worth a shot. Why not? Everybody loves them, and they need all the support they can get. So
I don't. AMD is garbage.
I mean, nobody should really love any public company. Let's be honest about that, because they don't love you. They just want their money.
Exactly.
But they do need your money if we want them to continue to be the prevailing underdog and keep the competition alive. So somebody doesn't buy their CPUs, then there won't be any competition.
The only reason to like AMD right now is because they're making quality product and giving an Intel a run for their money.
Exactly, which can't be said at all times. So
exactly,
we're gonna celebrate it while we can.
Anyway.
So it's a few weeks old now, but the first thing I wanted to talk about was their Q3 earnings call that they had at the end of October. AMD announced third quarter 2019 revenue of $1.8 billion versus last year's quarter 3 of $1.5 billion. Ooh. So it was up
$300 million.
And it was 1.65 for Q3 of 2018. It was up 9% year over year. They were up against 1.53 billion for Q2. So a lot of their Ryzen 7 nanometer products, and it looks like a lot of the Navi graphics cards really helped them up because they had an 18% boost quarter to quarter. So that's a lot. 18%. Yep.
Those what are they? The 5700 XT or whatever those new graphics cards are called. Those are pretty decent mid-range cards from what I've heard.
Yeah, 5700 XT is about par performance for the 2060 Super. Okay. And it's actually better priced, and then the 5700 I think is kind of battling the 2060 non-Super, the original 2060.
The original that they're going to re-release? No, it's
the
the
2070 is supposedly coming back because AMD is outselling about 3-1 in the mid-range graphics cards. It looks like their 5700 XT and 5700
that's gotta hurt.
Is beating the 2060 Super, and the 2070 Super is just too high in price. We're talking back up to like, I think $700 cards, and then the 2080 and 2080 Ti is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's helping out a lot. The percentage of, I want to say, their earnings per share percentage went up almost, I think it was supposed to be like 4 times, like a 400% increase. It was 3 cents per share Q2 2019, and it went up to 11 cents per share for Q3. So 3 to 11 is almost 4 times the earnings per share.
Whew. So
they got a lot. They didn't do that much better when it came to revenue. We were talking 18%. 18% revenue is nice. 4 times the amount of earnings per share, that's a lot better.
Yeah,
so they had a lot more expense, either a lot lower expense or a lot more income. Not really sure which one it was.
That's a 400% return on investment right there if you bought into their stock.
Exactly. Whew. So that's quite amazing.
Can't beat that very often.
No. Gross margin was up 43%. Not 43%. It was 43%. It was up 3% year over year, and then 2 percentage points quarter to quarter.
Good for you, AMD.
So
wow.
There they go. So the next thing, it's kind of tying into something that you have later on. So it's kind of a teaser for our main discussion topic later. There's a lot of people who are rightfully upset, but they're upset with the wrong company. Apparently, the Red Dead Redemption 2 issues that most people are having is almost all related to AMD. It's not all related to AMD. It's AMD systems. There are a few Intel ones that are having the same problems, but they're like hammering the fact that you have to have the latest BIOSes because Rockstar screwed up so bad. It's not AMD's fault, but I have a feeling they're going to get the flack for that. So I wanted to point out that it's not their fault. This is totally Rockstar's bad coding that is taking a huge hit on everything. There's people that can't get it to launch. So the last thing was Threadripper and Ryzen 9 3950X launch confirmed for November 25th. They pushed it back almost a week. It was supposed to be the 19th. There's reasons, but they're not released yet. They're under embargo, apparently. So there's reviewers that know why, but none of that is out in the public yet. It probably will be by the time this comes out on the actual podcast episode. So we'll see. It's hard to tell.
I'm excited to see the LTT, the inevitable LTT episode that's going to be on these Threadripper CPUs.
Yes.
The Epic CPUs really impressed me.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
The one big downside that some people may or may not see coming, and they probably don't care, Threadripper 1 and 2 will not be compatible on the new motherboards. They are coming out with a new chipset, and Threadripper 3 will not be compatible with the original Threadripper 1 and 2 motherboards, the X399, I think they called it, chipset.
Yeah.
Now it's supposed to be like TR40X chipset is what they're going to call it. It's the same socket and everything, but because they did actual changes to the CPU, they almost, I want to say, doubled the PCI lanes or something.
Wow.
Or they changed it enough to where they had to double the pins. I think what it was is they gave it a 4x PCI Gen 4 connection to the direct connection to the CPU. So they had to like double the pins going into it. So the pin out is completely different. So it's not compatible even though they use the same socket.
No. I mean, let's be honest. If you already have a Threadripper, you probably don't need the Threadripper 3.
Probably not.
I mean, unless you're on like the extreme end of things, there's probably not going to be a reason that you need this new Threadripper.
Probably not.
But
probably
I could see where that might like get a little bit on people's nerves. But as far as I know, they didn't promise any sort of like backwards compatibility like they did with the Ryzen, like the 4. What is it?
AM4.
Yeah, AM4.
Yeah, they never
the 4 generations of backwards compatibility or whatever.
Yeah, they never promised that for TR4, which is what Threadripper. That's the Threadripper socket that they use.
Yeah.
AM4 was promised the support. Nobody ever said anything about promising it for Threadripper. And
yeah.
AM4 in itself is going to be hard to get 4 years out of. There's no way they were going to be able to do it with Threadripper.
They were already having to phase out some first gen motherboards from the 3000 series. So I can't imagine how many more they're going to have to phase out when the 4000 series, Zen 2 Plus, whatever this is going to be,
it is
comes out.
Going to be Zen 3.
Is it?
It is going. This is stupid. Zen 14 nanometer. Zen Plus was 12. Zen 2 is 7 nanometers. Zen 3 is 7 plus.
What is 7 plus?
It's a new...
Oh, is it just a new 7 nanometer manufacturing
basically
process?
The same thing that Intel's been doing for the last, 6 generations now? Well,
yeah.
4 generations. Since the 6th generation, just redoing 14.
Since
Skylake.
we built our computers.
Exactly.
Skylake, yeah.
It's ridiculous how long they've been on it.
Wow.
But it's apparently going to use a little bit more EUV technology out of TSMC, assuming that they can get the stuff they need because of the shortages they're going through. And if Intel doesn't go to the manufacturers of this equipment and say, how many zeros do we need to add into this check to buy all your equipment because we need 7 nanometer because 10 is a bust and it's not going to work. So they need the equipment too. So how many zeros are they willing to add to make sure they get all the equipment?
They probably would have figured that out if AMD hadn't rested on their laurels for so long, getting Ryzen out there. But they should have. I feel like they probably should have wound down the 10 nanometer thing when Ryzen came out.
Yeah, instead of just hoping and praying that they get it to work.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not
sure.
They
were working on it for what, 2 years at that point, and it's already been another 2 years since then.
How many years has it been? I swear it was supposed to be out at 2017, 2018. It's supposed to be out years ago now.
The process before Skylake was 14 nanometers, so wasn't it? Because Skylake was the talk, or it was supposed to be the talk,
but it ended up being optimization.
Yeah. And then
Skylake killed.
And then
the
KB
TikTok.
Lake was KB Lake was another talk.
And then Coffee Lake
was another talk.
And then Cascade Lake, which is the new HEDT. I don't even know. Well, there was Coffee Lake Refresh for 9th gen. I don't know what 10th gen is supposed to be called, if it ever comes out. Because it's been a year since 9th gen launch, so I would have thought they would have had something this fall.
I know new laptop processors, the 10 nanometer ones that they're finally coming out with are Cascade Lake, but I'm pretty sure they're not doing the desktop versions of those anymore, so I'm not sure what they've got going on.
I don't know. None of us know. There's been too many leaks. I can't keep up.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's enough talking about Intel because they're awful. Let's talk about Rockstar because they're awful.
Oh, God. Here we go.
So, Red Dead Redemption came out like 3-4 days ago, something like that. Or Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC after an entire year of development.
After the console launch, guys.
After the console launch. They've had a year to get this right. They created this whole wonderful Rockstar launcher for their launch 2 that they now force GTA 5 to run through.
Yep.
And this launcher is so broken that when you try to play the game, it just crashes. So the launcher itself crashes. You can't play the game because of the actual launcher.
Nope.
That you're forced to try and run the game through. So apparently that's not the only issue. Even if you do get the game to run, there's some some people that are having issues with their graphics card. There's a YouTuber that I've been following that has an RTX 2080 Ti that cannot get this game to run at decent enough frame rates for him to stream. I don't know what settings he's trying to run it at. It may have been 4K, which could be the issue, but I've also heard that the 2080 Ti in the game is only reporting 9 gigs of VRAM. How many does it actually have? It's like 12, right?
It's up there.
Yeah, it's more than 8.
It's more than 11. It's more than 9 that it says it's got going.
Yeah.
You keep talking, I'll find that out.
But yeah, so Rockstar has kind of shot themselves in the foot on this. People have been waiting for this for, like we said, an entire year, and they still haven't been able to get it right. And like David's saying, don't blame your graphics card manufacturers. This is all on Rockstar. It's all their fault.
It is 11 gigabytes of GDDR6.
Okay. So yeah, it's reporting 2 less gigabytes than it actually has in the game, which can cause some issues if you're trying to run games at 4K, or even if you're trying to run some games on Ultra nowadays. I think I'm pretty sure Shadow of the Tomb Raider or whatever, I'm pretty sure that gets like to 6 or 7 gigs in VRAM if you do everything Ultra. So, yeah.
Especially if
some games get up there.
Especially if you're running, and this isn't a knack on AMD. Nvidia's VRAM compression is a lot better. So, yeah. An 8 gigabyte card from AMD needs its 8 gigabytes more than like a 8 or even a 6 gig card from Nvidia because the compression is better. Mm-hmm. Not really anything to do with who's better or what. It's just they just got better at it or something like that. Mm-hmm. The point being, and that's not the only card that they're having serious issues with either. The 1080 Ti, I don't know if it's just a fluke with the channel that was testing it, or which I highly doubt because they are super professional and they know how to do things. And if it's a fluke, it's because of Rockstar's broken implementation of a launch is being outperformed by a 2060 and 2060 Super.
Joking? It's really
barely getting over
a 1080 Ti.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like 75, maybe close to 80.
That is ridiculous.
That's all it gets. It is being outperformed by a $300 to $400 graphics card from this generation.
Yeah, somebody
Which
at
is
Rockstar
not correct
done
because
messed
it
up.
should be just about as powerful as the 2070 Super, or very close to it.
Yeah, without the ray tracing, mind you, but I'm pretty sure Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't have ray tracing anyway, so...
It might have a little bit of a performance detriment, but it's not like 20 frames a second like that poor game was doing.
No.
It was terrible. I laughed so hard when I saw that benchmark, and they don't understand what's going on, besides Rockstar being stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Well, enough bashing on Rockstar. Now we can bash on AT&T.
Uh-oh. What they do now?
AT&T, whose unlimited data... AT&T users whose unlimited data was throttled get $60 million in refunds.
I saw the headline, but I didn't click on it.
So, apparently this is a settlement in an FTC case that started in 2014 and only just now ended. Apparently the big caveat is that AT&T promised unlimited data without qualification, which means, no data throttling or anything. They didn't specify that. Not even in the contracts, apparently. And they failed to deliver on that promise. So these people that were...
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these people that were paying for their unlimited mobile data and weren't expecting to get throttled, got throttled. So... AT&T now gets to pay $60 million out to these people. I don't know... It's not a class action suit, so I don't think that... I don't think that it lists how many people were actually involved in the suit, per se. But I assume it's just going to be paid out to whoever had this service during the time frame that they're expressing. Yeah. AT&T would have to identify each eligible consumer within 30 days and give bill credits and refund checks to existing and former customers within 90 days. If there's any leftover money, it must be paid to the FTC, which would try to provide further relief to customers. So, yeah. AT&T done messed up. Apparently, their download speeds were throttled to as low as 128 kilobytes per second.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's like I don't even know if
with that.
I don't even know if that's enough to run Google Maps.
I guarantee you, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
So
sad. Yeah,
that's
AT&T done
faster than dial-up.
Yeah, exactly. You could certainly surf some AOL real quick with that.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
For real. Oof.
Ouch.
Yeah, so AT&T done messed up, but what's new? We started this podcast talking about AT&T. We're not gonna stop talking about them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let it happen either. As long as they keep screwing up, I will be the first one to bash them.
Exactly. Okay, well, this isn't. We're not bashing anybody for this, but this is just a little sad little thing. Google has ended support for the original Pixel, the Pixel that started it all.
No.
So they are getting one last little security update in December, but after that, that's it. It's not getting nothing.
Ouch.
It did actually get updated to 10 though, so I guess that means my phone only has one more year of updates, and then I don't get anything.
But how old is the original Pixel?
2016, so that's 3 years.
It's 3 solid years, so it's not as good as iPhone.
No, iPhone is 5 years.
Hate to admit that. They've always been better about their updates. I will concede that.
But you have to also consider that Apple also has much tighter control end to end over literally everything about their phones.
They truly do. They don't have to fight with a freaking list of vendors because they basically they control everything from software to hardware and everything. There's been phones that have been on Android that have been stuck on Android because either the cell company refused to update it or the carrier, that's the same thing. The manufacturer refused to update it. But also because a CPU manufacturer would refuse to update or support a newer version of Android on older CPUs that they made. Snapdragon did that a few years ago, or Qualcomm did on one of their Snapdragon processors. I can't remember which one. Yeah. And I can't remember what OS version it was, but they just refused to update it. So anybody that had and it was a pretty popular CPU too. So anybody that had a phone running that one was just screwed, whether or not the phone manufacturers wanted to help them or not.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, on the Android side, there's not really much anybody can do. Because there's so many, like you said, there's so many different people that you have to negotiate with all that. So, yeah. But
3 years isn't bad.
3 years isn't bad, but it is sad to see it on its last legs, so to speak, you know? Although I do think, I'm looking at pictures of the Pixel right now, and I like the design of the Pixel 2 a lot better.
Yeah, I don't
the curved screen and
original Pixel.
Yeah, the original Pixel is pretty chonky, especially in the screen to body ratio area.
Yeah.
Today's episode of Podcast Period is sponsored by, well, you. We've recently started a Patreon to help offset some of the costs of running the podcast, and you can be a part of it for as little as $1 a month. We have an exclusive Discord server, community events, a Minecraft server, and you can access episodes early as well. If you want to help out the show by throwing some money our way, just head to patreon.com/podcastperiod. Again, that's patreon.com/podcastperiod. Now back to the show. All right, well, that is it for the news this week. Next, we've got some discussion topics. Me and David have each brought one that we're going to talk about. So basically, all this boils down to is like we pick something that we want to talk about. Doesn't really matter what it is. We're not necessarily going to pull up an article and talk about something. Sorry, excuse me, but. We are going to just, look at a topic and give our thoughts on it. So, excuse me. So my discussion topic is, David, do you think that self-driving cars are the future of everyday travel? And if not, or if so, why?
I'm going to play devil's advocate and give two answers, but there's a reason for this. So, my true thoughts on it is yes. But there's only one way it's going to work. And if that doesn't happen, then the answer is going to be no. So I'll give my true answer first, because I honestly see it happening. Because of the simple fact that while the technology may not be good enough now, at some point it will. There has to be a 100% guarantee that these systems cannot be hacked, though. But I do see it happening if that can be a guarantee, because the technology will make them safer. You will take out the human error, which is the biggest issue with driving today. That it's obviously what causes almost any accident is attributed to human error, besides major road design flaws that are beyond human driver's control that could possibly affect an autonomous vehicle as well. So there still will be things like that happen. Whether it be design flaws or natural disaster or something. I mean, a few weeks ago there was a tropical depression that came through Tennessee that had all but dissipated, but was still strong enough that as it went over the Tennessee River, it's a lot of large flat land through that section. It toppled over almost every single truck that was on the I-40 bridge crossing the Tennessee River because of like 70 to 80 mile an hour winds. So stuff like that is still going to happen. There's nothing the computer can do to prevent that. Yeah. Unless they just shut down in bad weather like that. But I mean, if the truck had just stopped on the interstate because of the rain and whatever, and the wind still came by anyways, it still would have toppled it over.
Yeah, it still would have blown it over, exactly.
It's not going to help anything like that. So there still will be accidents, but it'll be a lot less of them. The only way I see it happening, though, is if it's a subscription-based service or some type. Like, you summon a self-driving vehicle or something like that. Because I don't see how, in the technology that we have today, or the infrastructure that we have today, that autonomous vehicles like that are going to be able to be supported at the home. Because I think in every case, they've all been electronic, I think. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure they've all been electronic vehicles. And we just don't have like the charging infrastructure in place. The grid can't handle everybody charging these things at the homes. Yeah. There's just too much upgrade that has to happen. So I feel like it'd have to be a subscription thing where you summon like an Uber of the future. And that's the way it works. Because anybody like me who's going to own a car, by God, I am not going to have the car companies controlling how I operate my vehicle. So it's the only way I see it working. Because anybody who wants to own a vehicle like that, they're just going to keep their old vehicles or something like that. You'd have to like discontinue the sale of cars to the public and force everybody to this subscription-based thing for it to ever happen. Because people are just going to... There will be holdouts. So that's the only way I see it happening. And that's where I say, no, I don't see it happening because it's just... there's too many obstacles against it. Yeah. Like holdouts or the infrastructure or anything like that.
I don't think it's going to be the future of personal travel, like you said, just because of the charging infrastructure and everything like that. But I do think if they could implement it into like the public transportation system, or maybe even like on the private end, like trains or something like that, that would be the way to do it. Because if they could automate literally everything, they could send these bullet trains going down faster than anything ever before, and you'd be getting trains down to travel times approaching plane speeds. Yeah, you know. So that's where I could see the self-driving car thing going. I think it would be cool to, as like a luxury, like a self-driving car, but I couldn't see like going on a long trip with one. It would be more of like a parking assist thing, like where if you can't remember where you parked your car, you press a button on your key fob and it drives itself to you. Yeah, I think they already have that like on that. I think they already have that on some car, like a Tesla or something.
Yeah, but Tesla has. I don't know how enabled it is. I know they're working on it, but I don't know how far the implementations go.
Either way, I think that's where if it goes into personal vehicles, I think that's where it should go. I don't think it should be enabled on like long cross-country drives, just because, especially at this point in time, you have to have some sort of human intervention. And we know people. if there is an opportunity not to do something, they're not going to do it. So if they have the opportunity to let this car drive itself from California to New York or whatever, and they could just sleep the whole way, they're going to do it. Whether or not that means that the car loses signal or something like that and decides to go into the other lane of traffic and cause a 50-car pileup.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's obviously worst case scenario, but still, especially at this point in the technology's history, we need to have some sort of human oversight. And I don't really foresee that going away on like the public highways or anything like that. There's just too many variables.
Yes, especially, and which is where I think it can't happen until it is forced upon people because of the holdouts. Like I said, you basically have to ban any other vehicle. And then it'd still take years and years for people to cycle to those types of cars.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you make it like a federal law that states you can't drive a manually operated vehicle, there's just people that aren't going to do it. And until every single car on the road is completely autonomous, you can't let people do like you said. And even then, I don't think you should be able to. No. Somebody's going to have to keep their hands on the wheel at all times. But like you said, the minute somebody can get like in the back seat or something and just sleep the whole dang time, they'll do it. Which is scary.
It is scary. Exactly, yeah.
Bad enough.
See, now, I feel like
phones in front of them and laptops and shit.
Yeah. I think eventually one day it would be cool to be like, you know, if you're sitting in the front seat, you could have like a TV show or something up in front of you.
Yeah.
And then the car can take care of most of it. But if you get like an alert, TV show goes away, you are forced to look at the road, no matter what.
Yes. I agree. I'm good with that.
But, yeah, I don't know. I don't like...
Years, though. Years.
Like, yeah. It's not going to happen anytime soon.
Nope.
As much as all these companies want it to, it's not going to happen.
No.
Okay, so
40 years down the road, I guarantee it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what discussion topic did you bring this episode, David?
Okay, so it's been a while. It was way back in August. Like, oh my gosh, I'm bringing something back from August. But Facebook won't let it die. Mm-hmm. Every day for the last, 2 weeks, I'll be scrolling through a post. So many facts about this or so many facts about that.
We're going to give a caveat here. This is going to be a little bit more politically charged than we normally get into.
Yes, very.
So if you're not comfortable with that, you might want to skip ahead. Otherwise, feel free to listen on.
Yeah. So, it'll come to a random little line in the whole article or something, and Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. And I'm like, darn it, they got me again. I can't even enjoy a simple, innocent toast anymore without some ding-dong throwing that in there. So I was like, okay, we're going to talk about this because normally we do try our best to avoid any type of politics whatsoever. Not because we will argue, because me and him are pretty much aligned on everything on this type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because everybody's so damn sensitive. And this is going to be polarized.
We know no matter what stance we take, there's always going to be somebody on the other side of the fence throwing their point of view in our faces.
Yes.
But running the risk of doing that, we're going to talk about this anyway.
Yes, so anybody who doesn't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, he was and I say was because he killed himself, guys. And we'll see about that. Was an American financier and convicted sex offender. And this is where it goes all downhill. hill. Because that is why he did not kill himself, guys. He was going to bring who knows who down with him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's absolutely no way he killed himself. He was murdered. I cannot, in my right mind, ever believe that he killed himself. And
there's too many
things.
There's too many potential people that he would have implicated in if he were to confess. That there's I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt that his death was a suicide. Like, there's no reason for me to believe that it's a suicide, no matter what the medical examiner that examined his body says.
Yeah.
Do we know how he quote unquote killed himself?
Alright, so focusing on just the death aspect, because I mean we can circle back to the other issues if we want to, but just focusing on the death, because to me that's a little bit safer of a road to travel down. On July the 23rd, I believe it was some late day in July, like 3 or 4 weeks prior to his death, he was supposedly found unconscious in his jail cell with injuries to his neck. And it was believed that he was attacked by his cellmate, who was, I think, on trial for murder or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly, they didn't buy that. And the correctional staff suspected attempted suicide. So, even though the injuries looked to be non-self-inflicted, the correctional staff took the attempted suicide route and placed him on suicide watch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
6 days later, he was taken off the watch and placed with another cellmate. And this is where my gears start turning, because, okay, 6 days? That's it? He tried to kill himself, but we're going to give him 6 days, and we're going to put him with somebody else.
Yeah, 6 days. That's enough to, if you're depressed and want to kill yourself, that's enough time to not want to do that anymore, obviously.
Yeah. So, apparently, he was supposed to be watched by a guard. They were supposed to walk by and look in the cell every 30 minutes. And that went on for 2 or 3 weeks. Supposedly, on the night of his death, which was August 9th, his cellmate was transferred out and no new replacement was brought in. Apparently, later in the evening, they violated their normal procedure, and he was not checked every 30 minutes. The 2 guards that were assigned to check his cell conveniently fell asleep and didn't check on him for about 3 hours.
And then they falsified the record saying that they did go check on him.
Yes.
Like they didn't have security cameras, which conveniently the 2 security cameras in front of Epstein's cell malfunctioned on the night that he died.
So
malfunction in extremely large quotation marks.
Not only have we placed a man on suicide watch, but took him off 6 days later, put him in with another cellmate after apparently the first one didn't attack him, even though apparently he did. They can't even get their story straight on that one. They take the guy out and they don't bring in anybody else, and the guards magically fall asleep the same day and don't check on him. And
The exact same day that the cameras malfunctioned. Yeah,
Excuse me? That's not even the worst part. So now we get to the autopsy, which was done like 2 days later. And it
was the next day. No. Yeah, you're right. It was 2 days later.
The preliminary results indicated that he sustained multiple breaks in his neck bones and a broken hyoid bone, which can occur when people hang themselves, but they're more common in victims of homicide by strangulation, which a 2010 study found broken hyoids in 1/4 of causes of hangings.
I find it extremely convenient that they don't mention what position his body was in when they found it. Like, they don't mention that he hung himself, even though that's clearly what they probably want you to believe. But they don't mention anything about how they found him.
And he dies by strangulation, which is the easiest form of suicide to, quote, mock up and put on display. Because all you have to do, and you can tell if, there's an honest ME involved with this, you can tell if somebody was strangled and the cord was brought back around their neck, or if the rope or cord was brought up into their neck by gravity bringing the body down.
Yeah.
You'd have marks going up or you'd have marks going back. So you can very conveniently have these same causes of the broken bone by just hanging the poor guy after you killed him.
I'm reading farther into this, and it says it's in the autopsy section, but under the description of the autopsy, the medical examiner, according to Epstein's defense counsel, only saw 9 minutes of footage from one security camera to help her arrive at the conclusion that Epstein had killed himself by hanging. What security camera?
They said they were knocked out.
Exactly.
Both cameras failed.
What security camera were you watching 9 minutes of footage from? This is all ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if there's anything more we need to say about this. This is all just hot garbage from the administration. From the people trying to cover all of this up. Because this would have implicated so many people into this this child sex ring, whatever he was accused of. Was he actually accused of pedophilia?
I feel like it was pedophilia. I truly feel like it was.
Yeah, okay. Sex trafficking as well. So I'm sure there were a few people involved in that too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook is saying,
June 30th of 2008, he pled guilty to a state charge of procuring the prostitution of a girl below the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
So, it may not be, God forbid, 5 and 6 year olds or something like that, but I don't draw a very fine line on the sand between an 8-year-old and a 14-year-old when the person doing this is 50. No. It's all the same to me. It's disgusting.
Exactly.
Who cares what
the
difference is?
This guy was a piece of garbage, but hashtag he didn't kill himself. Yeah. So that's all we've got to say about that. Come at us in the comments section if you want to try to refute anything that we've said, but we believe what we believe, and I'm probably not going to change my mind on this.
I didn't think much credence into it until I started reading into it, and I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, something is horribly wrong with this. Something is definitely not right.
Okay. So we don't have a whole lot of time left, but we do want to do our final segment of the new format that we've got going on, trailer talk. So we've compiled a few trailers that we're going to watch, and then we're just going to give some quick thoughts about them, whether or not we think we're going to go see the movie based off of the trailer. And yeah. So this first one we've got going on is we're going to watch The Kingsman. A trailer for the Kingsman prequel movie that's coming out. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna watch it. You can cut out the silence and obviously what I'm saying right now, and then we'll cut back into the discussion, just like we did with the album review kind of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. I'm going to start watching it now. Okay, I finished it.
Pretty good.
Okay, so the Kingsman trailer. What did you think?
I want to know who the young lad is. That's my first question. Because I know it's way too early based on what it looks to be like World War I time frame or something close to that. It's too early. It's too far in the future, well, in the past in this case, to be Galahad. So it's not the guy who brings on Eggsy.
No,
at all.
No.
So, is it Arthur?
I mean, maybe. I don't.
But I feel like
I don't think so. I think that would even be a little bit of a stretch.
It's a little bit too far of a time frame stretch, isn't it?
Yeah. This is like probably the beginning of World War One, or at least during World War One, because they had Rasputin, and by World War Two, Russia was communist. There wasn't a monarchy anymore, so.
Oh, Lord. Love Rasputin. I think it's very good. It's obviously going to be something that we would definitely watch.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but because of the first two, definitely have to watch it based on that. But if I hadn't seen the first two movies, this trailer is interesting enough to make me want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
If I considered it a standalone movie. And since it's a prequel, a lot of people could just do that. You don't have to know the first two at all. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, this is going to probably explain everything that was already explained in the first two movies. So
exactly.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it just because Kingsman 1 is like one of my favorite movies of all time, and Kingsman 2, while not as good as Kingsman 1, was still it was an extremely fun movie. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And I'm definitely looking forward to this. I think we're going to have to figure out a way to watch it and talk about it on the podcast whenever it comes out. But yeah, we're watching it one way or another. Okay, so next we'll take a look at the Frozen 2 trailer. I'm finished.
Okie dokie.
That did not seem like a sequel to Frozen.
It is
like
very
at all.
different, isn't it?
It's so extremely tonally different from the first movie. At least according to that trailer. That is insane.
This makes me excited for the movie just for the story.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really going to like... I feel like it. Knowing Disney, they'll let me down. I don't have a problem with Frozen at all. I just got really annoyed with it.
Yeah.
Because of all the blessed singing.
Frozen got way too overplayed way too quickly.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
The movie itself was okay. I got tired of listening to Let It Go.
exactly. The movie itself is pretty alright. I'll have to give it that. But this looks like I don't even know how to describe. I don't think I've ever seen a movie and its sequel be so tonally different before.
I know. It's not like it doesn't feel like it's a continuation of.
This looks like we're going from Snow White to like the Avengers.
Yes, exactly.
It's so weird.
I like it though. I really
does.
do like it.
I do,
I hope
yeah.
it doesn't let me down.
All right, we're gonna take a look at one final trailer. We'll take a look at Star Wars, since I know we're both looking forward to that. I'm finished.
It's so amazing.
Okay. I hadn't seen that trailer before.
Neither
that gets
had
me
I.
so freaking pumped for this movie. I'm so excited. It looks so good. I'm so ready. You have no idea how ready I am.
I'm so confused as to what is going to happen in this movie. Every time I think I have it nailed down in one way or another, something changes my mind. This is the first time I've seen this trailer. Totally changed my mind about this movie from the impression I had from the first two trailers.
I have stopped trying to figure out what this movie is going to be about.
I give up.
Listen, I've been a big fan of this trilogy. I enjoyed The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi was kind of spotty, but still enjoyable for me. I'm excited to see how they close out this trilogy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if there's anything more we can say. We're definitely gonna go see this movie. It's so, like, I can't not see this movie. I've already seen the last two, so.
No, we definitely have to go see it. Hopefully, We don't know this yet, guys, because it's 2 days before I will find out if we can make this work. But since he is coming up here for Christmas to spend time with his parents, I put in my last 5 vacation days for the same week they'll be here. Hopefully they get approved. I will find out Monday. And if they do, we're gonna go see this.
Yep, we're gonna go see Star Wars. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're gonna go see it, 100%.
And if they don't get approved, we're gonna find a way to do it anyways.
Yep, I'm so excited for this movie. Okay, so that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. Let us know what you think about this new format. If there's any tweaks you think we can make. But yeah, otherwise, this has been a pretty good episode, I think. Thank you for listening. Be sure to leave a rating on whatever platform you're listening on. And we'll see you guys next episode. Bye.
Bye, guys. This episode of Podcast Period was produced and hosted by Ben, co-hosted and edited by David. You can find Ben on Twitter at BenPlaysVidjas. That's Ben Plays VIDYAS. And you can find David at Car6by16. You can find the show on Twitter at Podcast Period or email us at podcastperiod@gmail.com. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening.